Hi everyone, Assalamu alaikum. This is Melih from İLKE from Islamic Economics Research Center from IKAM. We have a guest today for our first global Islamic fintech meetings, Mr. Dima, the Group CEO of Hijra, the digital Islamic bank in Indonesia, and the Group CEO of Alami. Actually, he is here. At this time in Indonesia, it's a bit late. I'm very thankful to Dima that he has accepted our invitation for such a webinar, and he will share with us their journey on digital Islamic banking, and we will gonna discuss the digital Islamic banking future after the presentation. If you have some questions, you can ask from the chat, from the comments, and after the presentation of Mr. Dima, I will gonna ask the questions to Dima. Before starting, we have a short video from Dima, and we will play the video, and then I will give the floor to the Dima. Thank you again, Dima, that you are here. Let's start the video.
Islamic economy is much like flowing water in a vibrant ecosystem, carrying with it an abundance of blessings and prosperity. If we look at the Islamic finance, it has experienced significant global growth, becoming $1 trillion industry in both Muslim majority and non-Muslim majority countries like UK and Luxembourg. With positive trends in the Arabian Gulf countries, the industry is expected to surpass $3 trillion in 2023. It is projected to grow by approximately 10% after experiencing similar expansion a year before. Even Japan, with small Muslim population, has shown interest and introduced investment certificate aligned with Islamic guidelines in 2011. And the growth is even strengthened by other Islamic lifestyles such as halal tourism. Here in Indonesia, Islamic economy policies is highly valued, driving our country as one of the world's prominent contributors in Islamic economy growth globally. To harness this opportunity in 2019, we launched our P2P lending platform, Alami. Driven by our commitment to foster a prosperous and fair society, our technology-driven approach aligned with Sharia principles fuels sustainable innovation. And in 2020, our platform was awarded as top-performing P2P financing platform, adding new recognition and established us as a global leader in SME fintech lending solutions. Motivated by this success and market demand, we are now expanding into new verticals within the Islamic finance industry. In March 2021, we acquired the only state licensed bank in Jakarta with Sharia principles and rebranded it as Hijra Bank, a Sharia-compliant digital banking solution designed to empower Indonesia's thriving Islamic community. With over 190,000 registered users in the first 5 months, Hijra Bank offers various features, including Hijra Box for effective financial management, top-up and bills for convenient payments, Sedekah sign-up for charitable donations, and Islamic features for enhancing daily worship. We also launched Hijra Home, a Sharia-compliant home ownership solution, which offers competitive rates and easy application process. And many more to come, as we strive in fulfilling and empowering your life journey. In addition to financial services, Hijra has launched the IKAM Business Accelerator, providing training and coaching to over 4,000 entrepreneurs. The effort is anticipated to hasten the expansion of Islamic SMEs. We believe that our journey toward transformative digital halal ecosystem is revolutionary, with primary focus on creating an inclusive and user-friendly platform for halal transactions, providing to the needs of both Indonesia and beyond. And this is only the beginning. So let's collaborate for greater growth together.
Our great video. Thank you so much. Now it's beginning. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum, everyone. Good evening, Asia time, and I think late afternoon, Turkish, and for everyone around the globe that's watching this. It's been a pleasure to be invited by IKAM to be the speakers for this sharing session. Thank you, Brother Melly, as well, for having me on sharing this. this is, I think, it's an honor to share more about the founding of Hijra Group, previously known as Alami. And I wanted to touch upon my personal journey here, as well as how we bring this startup from 0 to 1, from ideation inception to something, as well as how we grow from 1 to 100, and inshallah, like what's our planning going forward as well. So let me just start by sharing you my presentation about the business, just to have a feel about um, our business model as well. So I believe you can see the slides here already. So this is basically a our hero features, which is the what we call Hijra box. This is inspired by the Sadaqah box that we usually have in masjids here, mosque here in Indonesia. So we're trying to come up with the features where people can save depending on their objectives, and having different accounts for different type of savings. So these are the extract, so to speak, from the app. So a little bit more about us. It was founded by myself, Harza, and Bambi, so it's three of us. All of us have banking backgrounds. So I used to work at Citi Corporate Investment Bank and Songjan for close to 9 and 10 years before I took my executive MBA at INSEAD, and this is where I quit banking and I started to jump ship into the startup ecosystem. At the time, it was late 2017. Our vision is to be the world's most benevolent bank. I mean, this is trying to stay true in the mission of Islamic finance, where not to maximize the profit with every, I would say, every activities, but really creating benefits for those around us while growing the business altogether. So that's why our mission is to continue to obsess on improving our customers' life by providing a convenient, tech-driven Islamic financial institutions, while also being inclusive to the underprivileged. So the social impact side of our business is very key, and I think will be the continuous focus going forward as well. When it comes to our business model, we have two licenses. So one is the digital lending licenses in Indonesia, and the other one is banking licenses. Both are Islamic digital lending, also Islamic banking licenses from the Financial Service Authority. And I guess this business model would allow us to integrate both licenses, where the bank can take up third-party deposit, and at the same time, the digital lending platform can provide financing in a way faster, and I would say a bit more flexible in terms compared to the banks. So that will allow us to tap on different market that would otherwise be underserved among the Islamic banks here in Indonesia. So this is a little bit about our Hijra Bank, the banking platform. So we proud ourselves of having one of the best UI UX for any bank in Indonesia. Although, like, we just recently launched like late last year, and we're keep on adding more features because being a in a highly regulated industry, like, all of the product development needs to get a sign off from the central bank. We're adding more and more features as time goes by. So on the left side, we have the banking homepage, and then we have a toggle for business banking, where a customer can separate their personal banking homepage with their business banking homepage in case if they do a side business, just to be very clear when it comes to the features needed, when it comes to the usage, so the accounts doesn't intermingle with the personal account. And what makes a difference as well compared to our typical digital banking competitors is also the Islamic features, where we offer beyond banking solution. Now it's still, I would say, Islamic utilities like Qibla, prayer times, some contents, but this is something that going forward we're going to continuously um, develop to touch upon daily Muslims, I would say, activities so that we can be even more relevant compared to just your normal banking platform. And last but not least is the donation features. This is probably going to be our key differentiation from others, where we're trying to gamify our donation features going forward and make it more beneficial and interesting for people to basically do sadaqah, wakaf, or any other type of donation. Um, we have a couple of other, I would say, heroes products like the mortgage facilities that we are keep on developing and others. But I guess these are the typical views that the market would want to see. So we show this one. I think we can show the second video right now just to see a little bit more on the features. Thank you. Yeah, this is the very quick onboarding, so you don't need to go to any branch or having a phone call. The onboarding is very quick. Only do a selfie for 3 to 5 minutes process and you get a bank account immediately. And this is our Hijra box features to separate different buffering, different saving needs. And yeah, this is our peer-to-peer digital lending platform where you can invest in SME, hence getting higher yield when it comes to the investment practice. Um, of course, bill payments is very important. This is paying the electricity bills, for example. These are some of the features under the Islamic utilities such as Quran. And this is a little bit of a donation features working with some of the legitimate donation NGO that we're working with. And I guess this is going to be our ultimate development on the AI side and the personal financial assistant. Yeah, and the last but not least is just the reference. Yeah. Thank you for sharing the video. So on the AI side, on the chatbot side, I think we are now testing our AI capabilities at the moment. Now we have a very strong expert as well on the LLM, which is our chief architect. So I think this is something that we are going to continuously looking and implementing to actually add value when it comes to be our personal finance assistant that align according to the Sharia principle at the same time. This is a little bit of our footprint. We're operating in Indonesia at the moment. So the cumulative loan disbursements since we operate in May 2019 now have reached around close to 400 million US dollars, 370 million. We have about 250K of bank accounts plus the digital lending lenders and around close to 9 million revenue last year, full year 2022. And obviously sharp increase in revenue in terms of CAGR. When it comes to the licenses, we have the digital lending license, or what we call here P2P lending license. We have the banking license, mobile banking, as well as payment license from the central bank. And Alhamdulillah, we've been getting a lot of awards as well from reputable institutions such as the Assets, Forbes, GIFA, Fast Company for what I call it for tech side of things. And in terms of presence, we have presence in all provinces in Indonesia and 482 cities. And this is very interesting where we have about 230 million Muslims in Indonesia, where the Islamic banking penetration is only 7%. In fact, the whole banking penetration is around 52%, where the remaining is either underbanked or unbanked. So we have a very strong market, a very big market to serve here in Indonesia, and we are trailblazing the Islamic banking, especially on the neo-banking side of it. These are some of the awards and also featured by CNBC. Um, and this is our journey on creating the platform. So we actually, I would say, had two key pivots. Not really pivots, but it's more of an expansion. The first one was a pivot, though. So in early 2018 until mid 2019, we were actually an SME lending aggregator for the Islamic banks here in Indonesia. So we then realized that although we got a lot of leads, the concept of lending aggregator is still very foreign in Indonesia at the time. So although like we have a lot of pipelines, the Islamic banks are still unsure of the type of fintech partnership. So then we realized that there's a big market here from the SMEs, but at the same time, the Islamic banks haven't been able to capitalize on the opportunity. So we pivoted into P2P lending players, whereby we submitted for license to OJK, our Financial Service Authority, in early 2019. We got the license by mid-year, and we started to disperse our financing since then. Now in COVID time in 2020, we got a lockdown and everything, but Alhamdulillah, our performance have been great actually because there's more SMEs that require financing as part of their need for working capital. But at the same time, I think a lot of banks are trying to pull back their loan disbursement to manage their NPL. So it was a great time for us, and we're continuously growing, and it took until 2021. In 2022, we decided to evolve further to become, I would say, a vertically integrated fintech company by acquiring a small Islamic bank in Jakarta. We rebranded and relocated the address of the bank. I call it Hijra Bank. And then we immediately got into the process of launching our mobile banking. It took us about 1.5 years for the license, and we finally got the license and launched it in December 2022. Now, along those key milestones, I would say there's a series of funding. The first seed came from Golden Lead Ventures, a reputable Southeast Asian funds, one of the early VCs in the region. They seeded us together with the Getty and Tribe. And they also were in our Series A that was led by AC Ventures and GGV, and then Quona and EV Growth coming in. And we raised pre-Series B in late 2020 and last year we raised, I would say, more of a bridge round from Intudo, an Indonesian-only focused VC. So we've been quite lucky. We have strong investor in our cap table that knows both the market in Southeast Asia as well as on the fintech side, like such as Quona, a global equity investors focusing on the global south from the US. So lending remains our core DNA. So when we talk about neobank, there are a couple of type, right? There's a transaction-based neobank, there's lending-based neobank. So I would categorize us as a lending neobank. So the transaction features for us, it should be there to enable us to get CASA, but at the end of the day, the revenue generation will come from the spread between the on the financing side, the profit margin. When we've been focusing so far on business banking, so to speak, so it's spread across the commercials, SME, and micro segments. The typical loan amount and tenor are mostly short term. I think just the typical loan and pricing, they're a bit different. These are the equivalent range, and the scheme that we are using mostly for commercial and SME segment is Musharaka. We also do Murabaha and also Wakala Bil Ujra for some of them. For now, retail segment is something new that we're gonna launch our mortgage facility, what we call Hijra Home, and it's gonna be longer terms coming from the bank, and we're using Murabaha as a structure right now. Let me just move on the team's side first. We have myself, Arza, and Bambi as co-founders. So we split two co-founders to actually act as a president director or the CEO of each operating entity. So Bambi on the banking and Harza on the P2P lending, and I'm the group CEO. And we're having a senior management here as well, Ade, which is the chief operating officer. He's actually before this, it was the CEO of BTP and Sharia CBC and head of business development. And before that, he was the CEO of one of the leading peer-to-peer in Indonesia called Investry. And Arya, our chief architect, used to work at Metabase. He was the chief architect of Metabase. And before that, in Safe Security, Qualcomm, etc. And in being a highly regulated industry, it's very important for us to have senior advisors to, I would say, translate the view of the government, the regulation, and all of these things, so that we're quite aligned in terms of the being in the corridor of the government's policy. So we have Dr. Mulia Siregar to be the chairman of the largest Islamic bank in Indonesia. It's a state-owned company. And before that, he was the deputy commissioner of the Financial Service Authority. We have Dr. Dian Triansyah is the co-Sherpa of G20 from Indonesia and used to be the ambassador to the United Nations. Pandu is the chairman of the Indonesian Fintech Association, and Amir Rahim, former CEO of Citi Private Bank Asia Pacific. So this is an addition to our reputable investors as well. And our latest addition for advisor is Leslie Goh, is to be the chief technology officer of the World Bank, is joining us as well. So that's a little bit of quick introduction about our platform, and I want to touch a little bit on the industry overview. I'm sure a lot of you are already familiar, so just wanted to highlight an interesting thing on Indonesia. So we have 87% of total population is Muslim, from around 276 million. And we have a strong, I would say, demographic, in a way that it's young demographic right now. I think millennials and Gen Z are dominating the total workforce at the time. And what's also interesting in the Islamic banking industry is the oligopolistic nature of the industry itself. So among the 45 billion, now it's about $55 billion of asset under the Islamic banking industry. The bank, Sharia Indonesia, the state-owned bank, control about 40% of the market. And the rest of the market is coming from Islamic windows such as CIMB Sharia, BTN Sharia, Maybank Sharia, and about 9% is also Bank Muamalat. So what we see is that there's less incentive for competition in this market, because the big player kind of dominate the whole market. So we're starting to see more merger. So for example, Bank Muamalat would merge with another bank to create, I would say, a competitor for BSI. And then we start to see like neo-banking start to spring up. Obviously, it's quite hard because of the minimum capital regulations, but still we're started to see more innovation lately from the Islamic space. And although we're predominantly Muslim, I think I would say the literacy for Islamic finance is still quite low in Indonesia throughout. It's around 20-25% right now, and we're trying to push it up to 50%, and this is within the government mandate. So while historically, I would say in Indonesia, it's more of a bottom-up approach when it comes to how we trying to develop the Islamic banking or Islamic finance industry. Lately, I think about 5-7 years ago, I think the government started to see the potential of this and trying to push Indonesia as one of the key players as well in the region, or even the world, for being a halal, um, pushing the halal economy agenda upfront. So we're still in the middle of, I would say, in the early days of seeing the government and the market working hand in hand to push this. But so far, we've been seeing quite an interesting development in the market. Now, this is also interesting because the inflection point of the halal lifestyle has been happening in Indonesia over the last, I would say, 5 years. That's what we can see from 2014. Like we've seen a hike in Umrah traveling in Indonesia, and also the savings account when it comes to Wadia savings. We know that for Wadia savings account or court account, like we don't, I mean, the customer doesn't get any profit coming from the bank, but yet it's still quickly growing as part of the increasing awareness of having, I would say, a pure Sharia play in the market. And I think a little bit of segmentation, we feel that we cater to, I would say, the more conservative market in Indonesia, because I think we really takes time to explain our structure and really working with the leading scholars in Indonesia to really push the industry forward. So this is how we differentiate with some other competitors in addition to our product set. And I think the last part that I would like to share is our strategy going forward. We have several growth initiatives. One is on the mortgage side. I think mortgage is really still very healthy in Indonesia. And what is interesting as well is that Islamic mortgage took quite a significant share over the overall mortgage market. So from around 11.5% back in 2014 to close to 16% in 2021, while it's having a lower NPL as well in the market. And then the next one is obviously the Umrah and Hajj. I think Indonesia has been, since last year after COVID, been the largest contributor, uh, uh, overtaking South Asian countries for Umrah and Hajj to Saudi. And we've already also signed MOU with Masharik from Saudi as well to enable a more friendly, easy experience for the Indonesian pilgrims. Yeah, so I guess it's a little bit of sharing about the company and our strategy itself, and happy to answer any questions. And I think it's good to have a more casual discussion, just to so that I can learn as well from the crowd. Thank you.
Dima, thank you so much for your presentation. Your actually it's like an Islamic finance super app, not just a digital bank. You have many features, as I saw, and you are also focusing on different areas like your growth engine you mentioned, like Umrah and Hajj. I wish you success, inshallah. There are some questions, and in the comments I will ask you, and I have also some questions. Maybe you can discuss some questions. Gökhan Alpen is asking, actually, how did you transform your business idea from Alami to the global digital Islamic banking? Actually, you answered a bit, as I remember, you answered a bit in your journey, but maybe you can express your ideas, especially these questions.
Sure. Thanks for the question, Gökhan. Actually, when we start to push up the peer-to-peer lending platform in Indonesia, we quickly learned that there's a problem with the industry in a way that the cost of fund is actually on the high side, And a lot of people, when they started coming up with a peer-to-peer lending idea, is that eventually they can push down the cost of fund. But after Indonesia, particularly after like 5 years plus of the industry been growing, what we've seen is that the ultimate cost of fund is still not it's hard to push it down, so to speak. So the natural evolution is that since we already have a lending engine, so why don't we create a deposit engine, which is the bank, so we can get direct deposit from the retail market in a quote unquote more affordable way for us. Because the problem of the peer lending platform, like all the returns will eventually come to the our lenders. So as a platform, we're only gonna get the success fee basis or commission, while on the bank itself, that it's in our own balance sheet. So it allow us to make the spread revenue in addition to that. So we've seen this model being taken in the US as well by Lending Club and Sophie. And at the time that we did it, I think the valuation on the digital bank has been on the high side, from Revolut, Bank, and 26, etc. So the wave kind of intersect in that form. And from our perspective, I think why we are bullish on getting an Islamic bank is because also our customers is also asking if we can offer any other services in addition to just financing the SMEs. So I'm happy with uh, the SME funding, but can I also use it for transfer, for savings, and all of these things? So this is and our vision is actually really to revolutionize the Islamic finance industry to be something more hype and easy to understood and practical. So this is a no-brainer move for us, be it from business perspective, but also from our ultimate objective on how to make Islamic finance easy, tech-driven, etc. So the obvious move is moving to the bank.
Thank you so much for your answer. I hope this was a clear answer, Mr. Gökhan. If you have any other questions, you can ask, of course. And Mr. Kerim is also asking some questions. Firstly, he's asking also, can you share the presentation? If it's possible, if you can share, we can send the link or add the link to the comments or the description of the video.
Sure, let me just share. Yeah, I can
After the
share it
presentation.
after the session, and then yeah.
Okay. And
Sure.
he's also asking that what's your experience and biggest challenge for individuals in shifting to Islamic bank? Maybe I think this question is for Indonesia.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
for this market, I think it's an interesting question in a way that it's more than meets the eye, because it's really first obviously the awareness. So the typical questions that people ask to me or to my team is, what is the difference? Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
some of the
Same.
product is even more expensive, it's more complicated, and it's not us, but like the earlier players with us, right? But then they don't really also showing the difference. So what will be the difference? And so all of these questions. So first is awareness, and second is obviously then if they already understand the difference and the awareness, like how easy or how relevant the product is for me, right? So can I do like instant payment, like with the QR? Like in Indonesia, we often use QR. Or can I, do investment with it, like even do crypto, or like all of these things, right? So I guess these are the two big components, and obviously, as when people want to switch, there's a switching cost, because banking is also uh, the element of trust and habit, right? The force of habit. So need to break the habit and move. And what could it be? In Indonesia, it should be social typically it's a social pressure, like my friend, my family use it, so you're going to use it as well, like all of these things. So there should be a tactical plan to do that as well. So let me first start with the awareness standpoint, so on how we think like we can potentially solve it. So awareness is generally low all over the world, especially in the major Muslim market. Interestingly, so we're actually seeing more awareness in minority Muslim markets such as the UK or the US. But then I'm not sure about Turkey, but probably similar to Indonesia. Uh, like in Indonesia, for example, there's just low awareness, and it's partly not only because I would say historically the government or those who were championing this industry is not really pushing the market, I would say, in the right way, because as they're trying to do marketing, I mean, a lot of people don't realize is that we're having a shift in demography, right? Like from Gen X to millennials, and then now from millennials to Gen Z. So it's a different way to spread the awareness, to market it. But then a lot of the Islamic banking practitioners, they're still in the Stone Age, in the way they just come up with a very uh, hard to understand, probably some Arabic stuff as well. So I think this is something that we need to be different in the way to communicate the value, the difference, raising the awareness. Another thing is also um, the difference back to the roots, right? Like I would say Islamic finance is trying to spread the, I would say, the economy to every element of the society. So the money doesn't get only circulated to those who are rich, basically, right? So the spirit of helping others be beneficial to others, especially the bottom of the pyramid, needs to be there and needs to be strong, and people needs to get it right away, right? So uh, in the finance industry, it's big on social impact and all of these things. So we feel like we need to be on the forefront on green financing, on being a green fintech. Like our technology and our solution needs to actually touch upon every uh, you know avenue that can benefit those in the bottom of pyramid as part of the transaction. So for example, like when we charge the bill payment, we're actually uh, shared a little bit of a fraction of a revenue that we get to the bottom of the pyramid, and it's also part of the donation by our users if they use bill payment in our platform. And when people sign up, rather than having vouchers or cash bonus for new users, we actually dedicate those vouchers to be donated to our NGOs. So these kind of things need to be felt by our customers, and needs to be sincere as well. And we track those the development of the social finance part of the business. And I think on the second part on being relevant, I think it's very important. I think being relevant is not that hard anymore. Unfortunately, a lot of the incumbents, I would say, run by second tier or third tier of resources, be it infrastructure, manpower, etc. So it's kind of hard for them to compete with the big boys, with the big banks. But I guess us being nimble and agile, I think it should be able to raise that into that kind of like competition with some of the big boys. So I feel like uh, the use case for us, in addition to just serving the hygiene features like transactional features, there needs to be also something different. So this is where there are two things, right? Like first is the cross industrialization of banking into lifestyle. That's why the Islamic utilities or Islamic features in our app is very important, because in the future it will be connected to different Islamic communities, those who are trying to do an event or coming up with an exhibition, that we can help them and we can come up, you know, selling their products even in our app in the future. So this sort of things. And second important thing, in addition to just the use cases, obviously on the AI side, I think we're in the process of switching for just as customer service into actually a personal financial assistant for everyone, so that there's a value here that is being relevant, especially among the millennials and Gen Z, our primary users, that having a banking app is actually having a personal financial assistant that will help you to navigate and save and how you spend your money, and coming up with a past analysis and like future predictions, so that as what personal financial assistant is doing, but we're trying to democratize it with our app and technology, so that Muslims can be disciplined when it comes to the money management.
And thank you so much for your answer. Mr. Karim has also a different question. He is asking that, are you depending on the Muraba contract on your investments?
Yeah, so some of them, yes. So when we do supply chain financing, for example, to a farmer, so we're doing in Murabaha basis, where we will buy. We have I would say, an umbrella partnership with the digital players that focus on agriculture, for example. So we know like when to order that product, for example, for a raw food or raw materials for the production. We can buy it first and we sell it to the farmer, so upon harvesting they can pay us back, including the profit. So we're using that for Murabaha. Other than that, we are mostly using Musharaka, as we finance the purchase order, or invoice. We use Musharaka, and also their Wakala Bil Ujro. So basically we use various Islamic structures that is already governed under the National Sharia Council. So they came up with a fatwa for Islamic fintech back in 2018, if I'm not mistaken. So we're running our operation according to that list of structures in that fatwa.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Gökhan is asking another question. Yeah, actually, we have met with Dima in Turkey, I think 3 times physically. We had good times here. Last month, he was also here in Turkey, and he is also making market research, as I know. But maybe you can answer your aim and your market research in Turkey. Do you have plans? What do you plan here, or in MENA maybe?
Yeah, so yeah, I think we have that plan to explore the Turkish market, because I also understand that I think there's a push also from the government, and a lot of people would like to have I would say, I mean, Turkish banking market in general have already much more developed than like Indonesia, for example. But I think there are still bits and pieces that we can fill when it comes to obviously the digital lending investment, and some of the neobanking things as well. I think it will be interesting to fill that gap. Um, 2023 has been quite an interesting year, obviously, for a lot of fintech companies all around the world. So we're uh, coming up to see and revisit our core operations and trying to improve some of the things in the home market. And hopefully, 2024, we can start to look outside of the market again and finding the right partner to expand. So our international expansion strategy will definitely involve local partner that we can obviously trust and share the same vision, as well as complementary when it comes to skill set. So we are exploring different market as well, and Middle East as well as Turkey going forward.
Yeah. Actually, thank you for your answer. Actually, there is a research on Statista about
Mhm.
digital banking penetration, and Turkey is at the first stage. It's 85%.
Uh,
As you mentioned, yeah, Turkey has a strong and robust digital banking infrastructure. It comes from before the 2000s, actually. In Turkey, there were many banks established their own tech companies. It's a bit different. I'm not sure if it's in Indonesia like this, but here in Turkey, about 10 bank has its own tech company, and these have been established since 1980s. So it's interesting fact. Maybe I don't know how is this in Indonesia. Do banks have their own tech company in Indonesia?
Not necessarily. I think it's only the last, I would say, 10 years that they start to digitalize the bank. But before that, not really.
Yeah. In Turkey it's a bit different. It's also a hard issue sometimes, but there's also an interesting fact. Maybe you know that, of course, the first after the digital banking license has been regulated here before 2 years ago, and the first 3 digital banking license applications was from the Islamic finance side, and now 2 of them are operating at the market, and 2 of them are digital Islamic banking licenses. They got the operating license, and it's also an interesting fact. Actually, there is no question on the comments, but I have some questions for you. I want also deep dive a bit about your entrepreneur journey, actually, on Islamic finance, because I think these sessions will help to boost Islamic finance entrepreneurs, actually, in the Islamic fintech ecosystem. In the market, we cannot see so much experience sharing about Islamic fintechs and digital Islamic financial solutions. So I want to ask, why did you decide to be an entrepreneur in Islamic finance industry? What kind of cause, or what kind of reason was your what did take your attention in Islamic finance industry?
Yeah, I feel like since I was a child, I always wanted to be my own boss, so like having my own company. But I was not so sure like what kind of company that I would create until I mean, went to college, and I feel like I'm good at finance related subjects. And yeah, I ended up working in a bank. At the time, the intention is to understand how, I would say, the market works, and I ended up liking it. And obviously, at the time, I didn't even have a thought of coming up with my own bank, because I guess like this is something not every child would think that I want to have my own bank, you know. But then, alhamdulillah, like things leading to another, and then at the same time, I wanted to start something that is in line with my value. And since I've been in finance industry, and then coming in the last 10 years, I kind of learned, oh, there's an Islamic way to do things. As I said, like the Islamic financial literacy is not that high. So even I was not exposed to these things growing up. And when I realized there's a Islamic way to do this, and this conventional way to do it is wrong according to our belief. So
Yeah.
I started to be curious, and trying to learn about it slowly, and kind of like always keeping these things on top of my mind. So when there's the tech wave startup and all of these things, I think my mind was just jumping with ideas on, like the ikigai Japanese principles, where you trying to combine your passion, your strength, and your vision and the objective that you want to achieve. I think the Islamic fintech really fits kind of my ikigai. So I have kind of like happy and trying to push it, right? There's a lot of uncertainties, obviously, when we first started. Even my close friends would advise that you're limiting yourself to like a small market. It's going to be very hard to find investors that would like to back you up, because, I mean, obviously the market is still very small in Indonesia, although I believe the potential is big. But historically, like there's just no one who really think, I mean, pushing innovation into this market in a way that align with, I would say, the startup game. So I think this is my bet, and I kind of push it, because obviously, like with the right intention, if things go south, then at least there's some goodwill, inshallah, that I would be putting for myself for the akhirah. But yeah, I guess that's kind of the idea came from, and having the right co-founders is also very important, especially early in the game, because I mean you're gonna face. I mean, I did face more naysayers, than supporters. So the role of the closest ones, including families and co-founders, are very important, just to keep on pushing this until eventually the market would accept it in some forms. Yeah, so I guess the journey hasn't been easy. I think there's ups and downs. There are a lot of downs in the beginning. There's a moment where I kind of get desperate, not desperate, but what do you call it? Depressed on the state of things. Yeah, the depression is real. Mental health issue, this and that. As an entrepreneur. So yeah, it's quite an interesting journey. It's
Yeah,
been 5 years or so.
mashallah, I appreciate. I remember it, and the term, it's very pretty new. I think it's a term from a guy from, I think, Spain, Alex Souza. He is proposing a term for such kind of causes in entrepreneurial entrepreneurial station, in the station of an entrepreneur. It's called existential founder fit. It's
Hmm.
what you mentioned, actually. You have your values, you have your belief, and you want to focus on an industry that is fit with your belief and with your values. So it remembered me this term, existential founder. Yeah, mainly in Islamic finance industry, Islamic fintech industry. It's a kind fact. I wish you success, inshallah. And you have mentioned about your expansion, global expansion plans. As you mentioned in your story, you have been funded from venture capital companies. So maybe, yeah, you have. I think you have an exit plan. Do you?
Hmm.
An exit
Yeah,
plan? Yeah.
I think it's a bit too early to, I would say, focus on the exit plan at the time. But I believe that exit plan is something to always be in the mind. Obviously, when you talk with investors, etc. But I feel like as we grow, I think the exit plan is quite clear for banking, because it's not easy, first of all, to get the license for the bank in the market like Indonesia, and second of all, um, it's something that can be blended with a lot of other industries. So when it comes to like the likes of IPO, or like in the future potential strategic sale, I think it makes sense for a lot of either like Islamic banking players from the different market coming to Indonesia, or even like telecom players. Like all of this uh, makes sense, because obviously the money flow is there in the bank. So yeah, I think, but I feel like what we feel, even like we have this exit plan somewhere in the pitch book, but I think the the objective here is to spread the awareness and the access for Islamic finance, to make it easy and more accessible for people, and obviously relevant for people to use it. So I think that's the main goal, even we're exit or not. If we can push our costs, inshallah, that I think that would be the personal goal for me and my co-founders.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And Mr. Karim has also another question. He is asking about why some Islamic banks succeed and the other not. When there is a demand, why do some of them are succeeding and some of them not? And he's also asking your scholar council. I think you have mentioned about that. You have a scholar council, I think. But maybe you
Yeah,
can.
so we have a Sharia, what we call we have a National Sharia Council for Indonesia. This is where the Financial Service Authority would listen and would create a regulation based on the fatwa that were issued by the scholars in the National Sharia Council. And for each Islamic banking license, we also need to have Sharia Supervisors Councils. So we have Sharia Supervisors Council that being appointed directly by the National Sharia Council. And we also, in addition, we also have Sharia advisors. So the difference is that one is part of the company appointed by the National Council. The other one is, I would say, advisors that we were flexible, like could choose. And we also have Sharia compliance team internally. Yeah, so we have several layers of people just to make sure that our business is in compliance for the Islamic principles. I think some Islamic banks are not Islamic anymore. It really depends, obviously, on the markets and the context. Because I guess I met with people from the UK that say that the Islamic banking there is not Islamic anymore. It's trying to get around the regulation and all of these things. I also met people from different countries that say some of the banks are like that. So I think there are two ways, right? Like there's a potential that actually the bank is really not Islamic, like maybe not owned by Muslim or owned by non-practicing Muslim that is trying to make money in a shortcut. So that's actually possible because I mean, especially countries like Indonesia who have like Islamic banking license, and people just can obviously get the license, get the business without like the right intention, so to speak. And another potential as well could be it's just the communication is not clear, and maybe the RMs or the customer service are not too bright to explain. So it seems like the it's not that Islamic anymore. So there's a lot of obviously reasons why people think like that, but I can empathize. Like some people, a lot of people actually think like that. And what makes some Islamic banks succeed and fail? I would say it really depends on market as well. But what I learned from at least Indonesian market is that I think for Islamic banking or Islamic finance play, you need to go uh, full on Islamic. I'm saying that I think the gameplay of Islamic window is, I would say it might not fail because it will be supported by the bigger conventional bank parent, or even it's a window within the conventional banking system and it's just an Islamic window. It might not fail because it will be supported by a huge capital behind it, but it might not grow as much as well. So it's just going to be a small window somewhere in the corner, right? But for a full-fledged Islamic banks, I think it either can grow very big or then it can fail. So this is a very different, I would say, perception on the user when they look at full-fledged versus Islamic window. Now, for the full-fledged, I think just based on Indonesia's case study, I think where the full-fledged Islamic banking fail is when there's a change of senior management that is, what do you call it? Yeah, so there's a big case of one of the big Islamic banks here that kind of go down in terms of performance, and I feel like there's lack of control from the shareholders because at the time the shareholders were all based in the Middle East, not here, the major shareholders. So there's a gap, and the senior management is probably not too responsible on their role. So the lack of control by the owners. And there was a change in senior management, and these people are not too, I would say, Islamic or practicing or trying to push the Islamic values into the business, right? And then but then the previous management is also too Islamic, but then not professional enough. So because there's just a hard, it's very hard to find, based on my experience, and this is a limited experience, it's just very hard to find a good operator that is Muslim and practicing and trying to do business according to the ethical way. So either you're not practicing Muslims and then you turn out losing the soul of the banks or the Islamic bank, or you're very gung ho, but then you're not professional enough, and then you kind of break the bank from the inside. So this is the tricky ones, I think, and this is where most Islamic banking fails, because as you grow, then you need more proper senior guys running it, all of these things. Then that is where it's very hard to find these people. So unless the shareholders really have a very you know strong control when it comes to culture, best practice, and everything, then it's gonna be very hard.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, it has been 1 hour. Last question from Alperen, and one last question from my side as well. After Alperen, I think he's asking the different Islamic perspectives in your country. Maybe I'm not sure the demographics of Indonesia, but I think he's asking the different opinions on Islamic perception. How do you
Yeah.
deal with what kind of mazhab or other Islamic thoughts? Are there any different thoughts, or are there any different questions on these terms?
Yeah. So we understand that when the Sharia Council came up with the fatwa, it should be reflected like what is best and implementable at the time. Although like some people would view that it's not the most ideal one. So our stance on these differences, like this here in the country, is that as we're trying to be on the safe side, on the more conservative side when it comes to the perspective, as long as we can obviously leverage our technology to, to use to do it in the right way. So for example, like some of the older fatwa for, I would say, Islamic banking product were probably built where there's no technology involved in there. That we're now with technology that we can actually be in compliance with, I would say, a more restrictive fatwa, that we're gonna do it. So that is our stance. As long as it's we can use like technology or business, a recent business practice that can be in compliance with a more conservative stance, that we're gonna take it, right? Otherwise, like it might not be implemented table at all. So that's our stance. And when it comes to like different perspective, like from global standpoint, I think we trying to rely on AWIFI, and our share advisors also coming from University of Islam in Medina. So I would probably say a bit more conservative side on these things. So we follow AWIFI mostly.
Thank you so much. And last question, I wonder your thoughts on the future of digital Islamic banking, digital Islamic finance, and if you have some opinions on decentralized finance and the intersection with it in terms of Islamic finance. This is my last question to discuss the beyond of this digital Islamic banking. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think uh, the development of the Islamic finance or Islamic fintech itself, I think it would follow the growing awareness of the Muslim population itself, right? Like where there's growing awareness, I would say there's gonna be more demand for such a thing, and that would drive the innovation, because this is where the market actually wants it. So I'm pretty bullish on the development, whichever it may. I know like different people have different perspective on certain things. Like for example, on the crypto side, I think blockchain. I think everybody can agree on DeFi that most people would agree. But I think of crypto, there's still some difference in perspective. I think these things, as we grow, more use cases going forward, will be clearer for people to take fatwa whether it's like permissible or not, right? So I'm remain bullish on these developments. I'm just saying that the regulators will take some time to be fine with it, especially countries like, for example, Indonesia, and different part of the world. I think they will still take their time. Some regulators are more, I would say, conservative than others.
Yeah.
So as a business, we're trying to find the right timing to get into this development as well. So so far, like we're in monitoring. Another thing that I think we spoke as well last time, definitely on the AI side of things, the generative AI. I think that would be um, probably closer for implementation for some of the existing business, I would say. And I think we're going to see more and more use cases in 2024 for the financial institution implementing AI. um, yeah, so overall, I'm pretty bullish. It's just like the key is to create the awareness among the Muslims population itself, and how can come up with a relevant features to serve their needs. Because like although like a lot of people think very far when it comes to this, majority of our people of the ummah is still very traditional when it comes to the actual practical use, right? They just still want to save, want to borrow for like mortgage or car, or just do simple investment. So I guess these are the things, obviously, the pain points on majority Muslim markets. On minority Muslim markets, there would be another pain points in a way that that system or the dual banking system doesn't exist. So this is where I would say more advanced fintech implementation will be in place, such as like blockchain or like global crowdfunding, and all of these things will take more place, because this is supposed to be something outside of the jurisdiction, unless there's players such as us or others that come into that and coming up with the normal banking license, but run it in Islamic principles. So that could obviously change the game. But then again, as you know, like some governments really uh, sensitive to a lot of
Yeah.
Muslim things. But yeah, that's also another hindrance. Geopolitics will also obviously play an important role. We're seeing Russia how they open up for Islamic finance, trying to push
Yeah.
one, and Central Asian countries as well. Obviously, Turkish, Southeast Asian countries. So I think like depending also what going on with Palestine now in ICJ, I think if there's a strong geopolitical push as well, where the Muslims will have more say going forward in terms of population. Because I was just coming back from France, and there's a lot of Muslim there as well, with leading for Islamic banking services, right? Islamic finance. So but they couldn't access it. It's very hard. There are some people that come from on that, and it's really helpful. But in terms of scalability, it's still quite hard, because it's very hard to get investment from VCs there, because the market is just not big. So there's a lot of catch-22. So I'm hoping that the bigger Muslim markets such as Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, we can actually, or Saudi, we can actually come to some of these Muslim minority countries and offer our services to help our brothers and sisters over there.
Thank you so much. It was a great conversation with you. Thank you again for accepting our invitation. This was a beginning. This was a Bismillah of our global Islamic fintech meetings, and this today is also actually the first day of Rajab, the first days of Rajab, and I wish also everyone a blessed Rajab Shaban, and to come inshallah to Ramadan. I hope such speech, such journeys like yours will boost the ecosystem, and I wish success to Hijra, to you, to write a good success story in order to boost the entrepreneurial mind of Muslims, inshallah. Maybe we can organize a physical event here in Istanbul when you come back, inshallah.
Sure, look forward. Yeah. Turkey will be in my heart, definitely. Look forward to be in Istanbul again.
Yeah. Thank you so much again. Have a nice day. Have a nice night. Thank you also for the audience that you have listened to us, joined our conversation, and see you, inshallah, in the next Global Islamic Fintech meeting. Bye bye.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.